Hi, Danny Andrew here. In my last video, hashtag Me Too, I talked about the statistics, and I want to talk a little bit more about why do I post these videos? Why do I talk about this subject that is so hard to talk about? There's a reason. Take a deep breath. When I was 11 years old, I had a friend that came to the house all the time. He was a friend of my brother's, and we were friends. He was someone that I hung out with on a daily basis. He was 16. He was older than me, but I considered him a friend. And one evening, I went out to look for my brother, and I didn't find him, but I found my friend, and he wanted to play a game of cards, and okay. My brother's bedroom was separate from the house. We had a little travel trailer because our mobile home was only 2 bedrooms. So my brother was older, so he had a travel trailer that was his bedroom. And we were out there and playing cards, and I had no reason not to trust him and not to think that he was my friend and would never hurt me. But something clicked, and I had this feeling that something was wrong, but I had no reason not to trust him, and nothing in my young life to follow that feeling in my heart that I should just go back in the house, and I didn't. And he was teaching me how to play cards, and it was fun, and I had no reason not to trust him. Long story short, without giving you all the gross details, he had my trust, and I was 11 years old. I was a child, and that night my friend raped me, and he took me out of that space down to a shed on another part of the property where it was dark and it was gross and it was awful, and kept telling me it would be okay, and I told him no, I didn't want to do this. I didn't scream, I didn't yell, I just kept telling him no, I didn't want to do it, and crying. And after it was all over, I ran to my mom's car, and I got in the car and I cried until I composed myself enough to go in the house. And I did not tell my mom. My mom was a single mom with 4 kids at home, trying to make ends meet. She did not have, and I knew she didn't have insurance. She couldn't take me to the doctor. And while my dad and my mom were divorced, he was still a part of our lives. My dad would never have believed me. He was a very strict disciplinarian. And mind you, this was 1976, and you did not talk about things. And I felt like I had done something horribly wrong, and I was going to be in trouble. I was going to be the one who was going to be beaten, and my dad would have beat me bloody. I guarantee you that would have happened. I would have been in deep trouble. Looking back, I don't think my mom would have been so. When she did find out, she cried. She was very upset, but she didn't find out for 2 years. It was 2 years before an offhand comment in a conversation with my older sister. And when she got upset, I was like, uh-oh, I'm really in trouble now. And they all knew him. They knew who he was. And when I told her what happened and what he had done, and she immediately called my mom. I am in trouble now. But by that time, of course, this young man had moved away, and we had no idea where he was. We didn't live there anymore. And of course, there's no evidence. There's none of that. And after this happened, he moved away almost immediately after that happened. And looking back now, I kind of know why he moved away. Perhaps something else had happened as well. but he moved pretty quickly. I don't remember seeing him again after that. He was just gone. And I kept telling myself it was my fault. I should have known better. But honestly, how does an 11-year-old child know better? They don't. They don't know better. They have no way of knowing better. And forgive me if I get a little bit emotional here. They don't know better. And I felt like I had done so. Even after I came out and told my mom what had happened, I still felt like I was wrong. And I didn't talk about it again. It just wasn't something we talked about. I didn't talk about it again until I was in counseling. I have done 10 years of counseling, maybe even more, to get to the point where I can talk about it. I wrote about it in my book, but it's not something you want to talk about. It's not something that you want to stand up and go, hey, guess what? This happened. And I agree that it should be reported immediately so that it can be something done about it. But back in the 70s and the 80s and before then, it's not something you talked about. I would have been in big trouble with my dad if he had found out about it. It's not your fault. This was something that was done to me. I was not in a position where I brought this on myself. I was not. I was just looking for my brother. And he was making friends. The thing about it is that he is now on the FBI's most wanted list. They are looking for him. I found that out not quite a year ago, and that was horrific for me to find out that he's still doing it. People that do things like this don't quit. And it's horrific to live with something like this.